Welcome back. In this video, we'll be talking about the different types of conditions, like how to use conditions while you're writing your SQL queries. There are two types of conditions. One is on the output, and one is while doing filtering, right? Filtering your data or your table based on certain conditions. So first one, that is about the output, talks about case conditions, and the second one would be about multiple where conditions. So let's look at case conditions. Before we proceed, let's again take a particular table and see the values out there, and we'll be doing all the operations on top of it. So for that, I'll just do select star from products and then see what the output is. I press F5 and the output has come. Now, when I talk about case conditions, I would want to see things in a certain particular way. Like, say, when it is shirts, I will call it as full shirts. Okay, any shirt that is beyond a certain price range, I'll call them as full shirts. And any shirt that is below a price range, I'll call it as a half shirt. Let's check out all the prices for shirts. So for that, what we do is I do where product name is equals to shirts. Let's see if there's anything that is okay. There's a space out here. Let me see what are the different prices shirts are listed at. So here you see that the shirts, there's one batch of shirts which is listed at 400, and there are two batches of shirts which are listed at 150. So what I'll be doing is, if a shirt is listed at 150, then I'll call it as half shirt. If it is listed at 400, I'll call it as a full shirt. How do I do that? So the basic fundamental here, before we proceed, we'll be talking about the basic fundamental. What it talks here is that the output that is coming, I'm putting a case on that. So what I'll write here is, I'll just simply copy the same query, and then I would put a condition here. Okay. So before I proceed with that, let me replace the star with selected field names. I'll use product ID, then I would use product name, and then I would pick up the price. So that way, instead of showing all the 6 columns here, I'll just see only the 3 columns that I require to see, right? So now this would be changed based on the pricing. So what I'll do here is, on product name, that is the output, I'll put the case condition. So I'll say that case when product name, case when the price of the product is greater than, say, 200, I will call it as then full shirt, else call it as a half shirt. Okay, and then I'll put an end to it, and then I'll give it an alias of product name. Okay, so let's look at it this way. With the syntax, so syntax goes like this: case when the condition that I'm putting here, the logic, if it satisfies, then what is the string that I want to show, and if it doesn't satisfy, then what is the string that I want to show. And remember, every case condition ends with an end statement here. Okay, and the output that comes, I will show that with as an alias called product name. If I don't give an alias, then it will show up something, some random name would come up here. Let's see that case first. Okay, I'll just cut it off, and then I select this row, and then I run it. See, here it says that if it is greater than 200 is greater than 400 is greater than 200, right? That is why it showed as full shirt. 150 is less than 200, that's when it shows as half shirt. But here, if you see, the top the column name is showing as case. This is a default name if I don't give it an alias or a name. So I'll give it as a name called product name, and then I run it, and the name changed. Here, if you see, by default, it is showing as text. The type is as text. Okay. What if I change it to say 1 or 0 and 0 instead of full and half shirt? Then what happens? You see, it became integer. So the engine or the PostgreSQL automatically and intelligently considers what I am giving this as output. What if I give this as a string? Say I again call it as a half shirt, and a full shirt I'll call it as 1. Okay, and then see what happens. In this case, it is getting confused. It is, first of all, it took it as an integer, and then it is saying that okay, this is a string. What do I do? That is when the confusion arises. So always remember that you give these two the same type. Let me just interchange it and then check it out again. Here I'll call this one as a full shirt, and after the else condition I'll give it as an integer. I'll call it as an integer, so 0, and then see what happens. Again, it got confused because full shirt, because when full shirt is a string and 0 is an integer. So I have to ensure that both of them have the same data type. Okay. Now if I run it, it should. So this is how we handle case conditions. Another way of handling it is that what if I have got multiple conditions here? Say, like in this case, shirts had 400 and 150, only two values. Let's go ahead and change this number to something like 100. Okay, and then I save it. Now, what I'll do here is that I'll further split half shirts into two categories. One is anything that is less than 149, I'll categorize them as t-shirts. Now, in this case, what is happening is there are three conditions here. So what I need to put here, okay, it's pretty simple. What I'll do is case when the price is greater than 200, I'll call them as full shirt. Else, when price is greater than 149, I'll call them as half shirts. Price greater than 149, I'll call them as half shirts. Else, anything that is remaining, I'll call them as t-shirts. Okay. Now let's see if it works. What happens here is case else and when does not work well. So I would put it as case when again. Then let's see what happens. Again, another issue came up where it says that this 149, I said half shirt. What is wrong here? I forgot to put the then clause here. Okay. I run this. You see, it is saying end. Now, what exactly is happening here? If you see, this is one case condition which gets over here, and this end belongs to this case condition, but there's no end to this case condition, isn't it? So I'll put another end here and then see what happens. Now the answer has come properly. See, the third one is showing as t-shirts. So with that, we are covering case conditions. Another way of handling it is we can, for easier understanding, we can put this entire thing into a bracket. That way, if you look at it, if I try to indent it, then it will look like case when price is this thing. Okay. When price is greater than 200, then call it a full shirt. Else, this condition applies, and then it ends here, isn't it? So this is a easier way of looking at it and understanding in case you face any issues with case conditions. With that, we have covered case conditions. Now we'll move on to multiple where conditions. Before that, let's do this thing again and see what are there in the products such that we can analyze. Okay. Here, if I run this query, I see the entire table, isn't it? Now I want to figure out I want to find out the details of products which contain 80 in their names and price is greater than 100 or greater than 150. Okay, so first thing I'll do this thing where select star from products where product underscore name like 80. Let's try this part first, and then I'll get to know that there are like 17 records which are there. And within this, you see there are like multiple products where the prices are like 150, 300, 400, and so on, right? Now I want to see only the products where the price is greater than 150. What I do there in that case is that I put an AND condition, and price is greater than 200. This way it will work. See, now only 11 records are there and there's no price that is 150. That is one aspect of it. Second aspect is I want to see all the products that are at a price that have a name or that the name of which has 80 in it, or the products whose prices are greater than 200. So what does this mean? So it will select all the products that have 80 in it, that is those 17 products. And again, it will check the entire table and also pick the products for whom the price is greater than 200. And it will combine these two lists and show. So let's see what happens here. If I run this query, you got 46 records. Remember, with this, only with this much, I had 17 records. And if I combine this thing, I get 46 records. So what about those 31 additional records? Okay, here you see that okay, this one, okay, I'll run the entire thing. So 46 records are here. So if you see, noodles is priced at 400, but noodles does not contain 80, isn't it? So this satisfies this condition. That's why it came. Now let's see about the at cases, the ones that contain 80. Okay. So now if you see this one, hats are priced at 150, which is less than 200, but it has 80 in it. That's the hats have also come in. So if I look at it, the moment I select only percentage at percentage, I get 17 records. And let me check this out also. When I select price, only price greater than 200, how many records do I get? Okay, let me do that. And I select this and I run the query. Okay, sorry, where price greater than this. I run the query. Oops. 5, and here I get 40 records. Okay. Now, if I do an AND condition, that means how many records are there which have both 80 as well as 200, as well as the price greater than 200. In this case, if I search for it, I get only 11 records. Okay. So it is percentage at and price greater than 200. In this case, I have only 11 records, isn't it? Now I'll tell you one cool thing here. Okay. Now if I select this 40 guys and add the 17, what's the total number? It becomes 57, isn't it? Now in these 57, there would be some people who would be having price, who would be having at, as well as who would be having a price that is greater than 200, right? So these guys, so if you remember Venn diagrams, so there's one circle, there are 40 items in it. There's another circle, there's 17 items in it. And there's a common part in between these two. Let me show it this way. So there are 40 records here, and then there are 17 records here. Okay. So these many records, if you look at it, this many records, these records are common in both the places. So these are those 11 guys who satisfy this condition as well as this condition. So that is this one, that is 11. And that is what I ran here, and you see 11 records. Okay. So if I want to, so the people who, the candidates who qualify for both would be these guys plus this guys, that is ones, and plus these guys, right? So what is this number? This number is 17 minus 11, isn't it? So this will be 17 minus 11, which is equal to 6. And what's, how many guys are here which don't satisfy this condition? That would be 40 minus 11 again, isn't it? 40 minus 11. So this would be how much? 29. And how many guys satisfy both the conditions? That is 11. The total guys here would be 17 minus 11, that is 6, plus 40 minus 11, that is 29, plus 11. What's that number? That is 6 plus 29 plus 11 would be how much? 46, isn't it? So if I do this OR condition, I'll get 46 results. Now here, you see, this is an AND condition. Let me change it to OR and then do this. Here you see 46 records. So this is how and OR operators work. You can always combine as many and OR operators. Now, like I say, and stock, or say product category is less than 5. What will happen in this case? If you see here, if I run this, it gives me 23 records. Now, if I club this part, before that, let me just note down the number of records that are there as an output of this entire query. That is 23 records. Okay. Entire query I'll just copy that actually better. Here I have got 23 records. Now, if I put this thing here and I combine this entire thing into one condition, so this condition has to match, and then product category has to be less than 5. Then what will be the output? Here you see 9 records have come. 9 records have come. Third case is that I club these two, this and this, and see how many records are there. Okay. Oops, sorry. Home and select 23 records. One thing that you need to remember here is that whenever you're using AND or clauses in conjunction, what SQL will do is, first of all, it will operate the AND operator, and then it will operate the OR operator. Okay. In order to avoid any confusion, it is always a good practice to club these things within brackets, or these things within brackets, such that it becomes easy for you to understand, and also always indent. So here I'll say that select star, and I tab it from products where product name is like this thing, or this combination holds true. So this way, if you look at it, this becomes much more readable. This is how we handle multiple conditions within the where section of a query. Now that we have covered so many different types of queries and functionalities that SQL would offer, and also we have played around with the case conditions and the conditions in the where section of our query, The next thing that we want to see is the only the top records. This is extremely necessary and handy and useful and even frequent in cases where there are like thousands of records within a table. Like when I ran this query, that is select star from products, this part, right? I just copy it and I paste it here and I run it again. The moment I do this, I see only 90 records are there. So it is pretty easy to see. But in real life, there would be tables where you will have thousands of records, or even tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands of records. And you don't want to see all of them. You just want to see few of them to understand what exactly it means, right? Or what's the type, what's the arrangement of data. So in that case, how do you do? Like I just want to see the top 10 records or say the top 5 records. Then how do I do it? In PostgreSQL, there's this functionality called limit 10 or limit 5 or limit 6 or whatever number you give. In that, and Postgres will give you the top that many records. Okay, so I searched, I put it as limit 10, only 10 records came. If I put limit 6, only 6 records will come. See, 6 records have come, and there's 6 records. In MySQL, it would be like select top 6 star from products. So depending upon the engine that you're using, these queries could vary slightly, but overall their operations and the logic of writing stays the same. So this brings us to the end of the section here, where we have dealt with the most frequent, most handy, and fundamentals of all functions. Thank you.